If you have ever watched Saving Private Ryan, you might consider it one of the greatest movies you've ever watched. It is often considered to be one of the top 50 films of all time, and is even considered to be the greatest war movie ever made. It depicts the harsh reality of war and the pain of death in a way that the audience feels connected to the time of war and the notion of loss. The audience does not just communicate with the protagonist, but towards the entirety of an idea. This is one of the best qualities of this film, and this quality is intensified solely because of the genre of this film: war. But that's not all. The whole film is a masterpiece done in perfect pacing and ultra-realistic depiction that we are going to review today. Welcome to Film Domain, where we bring you content from everything film. Today we're looking into the art of cinematography and the pacing techniques used in Saving Private Ryan, along with the prominent features of the film that make it so great. But before we storm into the video, make sure to give us a subscribe and click the bell icon as we bring you the best film content every 2 weeks. One of the key elements in telling a story is pacing. Simply put, pacing is the movement through time. The movie uses two primary layers of pacing. The first one is the outer pacing, where the story moves from Ryan's present to his memory and back to his present time. The second one is chronological pacing from the perspective of D-Day to Saving Ryan. This technique, when done skillfully, evokes the audience to be digested into the film and achieve the best effects of storytelling. In a more cinematic sense, a technique known as bathos is also used. We won't bore you with theories, but in simplest terms, it is the quick shift in moods of narration, usually from high to low. In Saving Private Ryan, we can observe how certain scenes are juxtaposed with each other to create this effect. Two such scenes cannot be left without mentioning: the scene of storming onto Omaha and the battle tank explosion. These are two examples where pacing and bathos are done perfectly for effective narration. The beach is portrayed initially as silent and the army moves from the sea. This soon turns into one of the most realistic and chaotic scenes in film history, as it depicts horrific sights of war such as injury and death. It is turned into a sea of blood with bodies laying around. The concept of pacing is also used to depict the subjectivity of the soldiers. When Captain Miller zones out in the Omaha scene, the audience also goes through his perspective with the muting of battle cries and gunfires. This technique can also be observed before the tank is blown up in the final parts of the movie. As Miller fires his pistol at the seemingly unstoppable tank, the fast-paced shooting scenes and the clatters of bullets caused by the men of both sides have just ended. This just leaves the audience with just Miller and the tank crawling towards him. However, it is immediately switched as reinforcements arrive and destroy the tank in mere seconds. This shift is used in multiple phases throughout the film. The scene where the wall crumbles is another example where the fallen wall reveals the enemies and turns the scene from a quiet moment to one of yelling and gunfire. But it is not just the pacing or bathos that creates this effect. It is how and where it is used. The film, being one of war, becomes the perfect canvas, as this effect can be used to portray the symbolic narration of war. The elements shift and the tides can turn at any moment, and the field of war lingers with the uncertainty of glory and death. But it's not just the pacing. The cinematography of the film should also be equally credited for its success. Points of view are one of the most important elements in visual narration. The director is not just able to give a sense of perspective, but also a metaphysical structure through the placement of the camera and its directions of filming. Although there are numerous examples of cinematography that Steven Spielberg uses to propel a metaphysical narration, one of the most effective examples would be the battle scene in Omaha Beach. When the battle has started, we are taken to an active trance of realistic description of war. The screen is not fixed so that it gives us a steady visual experience. It is shaky and shifting. This takes the audience to experience the visuals of war through the eyes of the soldiers. Just like the battleground is unsteady and visually filled for the soldiers, the camera technique tries to mimic this effect for the audience. We are not just a passive listener like in most films. We are taken into a realm of reality in its raw form. This is enhanced by the suffocation and the sea of noises that portrays the effect of war in the closest way possible in a film. One should also focus on the perfection of realism in this movie. Apart from the camera work, the film captures the reality on the face of war. It is considered to be the most accurate visual description by war veterans because it captures the essence of life and death. War is not always about glory. This is captured splendidly in the film. The description of death, the sea of blood, The confusion in the moment where a soldier throws up is all part of the rawness of war, and it stays on in a man. But that doesn't mean life is not worth it. In fact, it is the opposite. It also represents hope. It represents the need to earn our living, the need to make life worth living. It is the message of hope and humanity that persists in the heart of men that leads the general to send out troops in search of Ryan. It is the hope of bringing back a mother's last living son that pushes Captain Miller to move forward. And it is the hope of a better tomorrow, through Miller's words to Ryan, "Earn this," which makes the dreams of Americans something worth fighting for. Saving Private Ryan is considered to be one of the top 50 films ever made by TV Guide and is praised by Empire Magazine to have the best battle scene of all time. Currently, the film holds a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and 8.6 on IMDb. One of the things that makes this movie great is that you can notice a lot of fine details that are used to narrate more efficiently. We at Film Domain consider this one of the best films ever made, and we would give it a 9.5 rating. It tells us that neither life nor death is fair, and though war is hell, our men and women went through it, through hell, to give us the future. And as citizens of the land of freedom, it suggests that, like Ryan, we too should earn this, so that we can tell those who died for us that I have been a good man. That was our review of the film Saving Private Ryan. Tell us what you thought of the film. What was the part that left the most impression on you? Let us know in the comments. And if you loved our content, why not subscribe and give us a like, so we can inform you when we upload another video. It'll also help our channel grow. And if you have any other recommendations for any other film we should review next, let us know through the comments. Until next time!